All right, today we're going to build a super high efficiency sponge filter using PVC pipe and foam from Swiss Tropicals. Here you need a 1-inch pipe, and this is just scrap, so there's really no requirement to go purchase special. The 1-inch PVC pipe, and I drill holes, and as many holes as you can get into the pipe, the better. And there's no real requirement. You don't have to be evenly spaced or anything. You just want a lot of area that the airflow can draw into. Even better is place your 1-inch PVC pipe on the table saw, make a few slices, and you end up a lot more uniform with the flow. So that's what we're going to go with. Here's a hole drilled in the bottom. You'll see why later, but that is for when we mix the resin into the base to get the pipe to stay and actually weight it down. So, and you'll see as we start assembling what I mean by that. But basically what we're going to do is fill that mold full of gravel, sand, pour the resin over top as a weight. The foam will then go on top, which will make the high efficiency sponge filter. Now the foam we're using is a 1-inch cartridge from Swiss Tropicals, and it's just swisstropicals.com online, and you go under their filter section and you go under the cartridge link. This is a cartridge that is made for a 1-inch PVC pipe. You can get them smaller. The cartridge comes in various lengths. This is, I think, 20 inches. The pipe then, the 1-inch pipe, will fit into the foam like that. Now basically what you do is you measure out how much you need. And you can see the mark I made. And quite simply, you just take a razor knife or any cutting tool, cut the foam to size, leaving a little bit above the cuts you made in the PVC pipe and a little bit below. That will allow the air or the water flow to draw in through the sponge, making it just super efficient like this. And I'll, again, keep explaining as we go. The pipe is cut there, and the 1-inch pipe will fit into the cut filter, like so. You could put a top on it. We will make the base to weight it down, and there you have the basic general design. Now let's get to work on making the base. Here I have specialty resin chemicals from Michigan, and it's a simple part A, part B, 1-to-1 mixture that will form the base for this filter. Now you can glue the pipe onto a stone, you can glue the pipe onto tile, you can glue the pipe onto slates, but honestly the glue just never holds, and if you're going to pull these sponges off and do a lot of cleaning, it doesn't work. So you mix part A, and I use graduated cups so that I know exactly how much to use. You mix an equal part B. Again, this is a specialty resin chemical from Michigan that I use, but any casting resin will work. You don't have to worry about the glue. You don't have to worry about using Bondo or fiberglass as far as contaminating the tanks. This is perfectly tank safe. Now, like I said, it's just a 1-to-1 mixture. Combine the two parts. and mix it up really well. This particular model, you have about 6 minutes working time, so I'm not in a super rush, but you can get mixing times that are quite a bit less. You can get it down to about 2 minutes, and for this kind of casting, 2 minutes is just a little bit too quick. So again, scrape it off the sides, get the mixture off the bottom, mix it up really good. Make sure the chemical is good and combined. The base that we're using is just an old cup. You can use Tupperware, you can use any kind of a drinking cup, anything that would provide enough weight to hold down your particular sponge that we're using. And again, it's the cartridge filter from Swiss Tropical, 1 inch. Okay, here we have our PVC pipe that we sliced on the table saw. And put it in the cup, and I'm going to pour in just a mixture of aquarium gravel, aquarium sand. Honestly, I just got a scoop out of the aquarium right before I started this video, so there's nothing, really magical about what you use, just something to weigh it down. Now the chemical resin that you mixed, pour it in the top of the pipe. And as you can see, it's going down through the pipe and into the gravel. And, neatness doesn't count so much here. You want to saturate the gravel. And any little spills that you get just flake right off of the pipe itself. All right, now you have the cup, the container, filled with the resin. And what I do is poke it to make sure the resin flows down and encompasses all of the gravel and any weights that you might have in there. And I've seen guys use fishing sinkers. I've seen shredded terracotta pipe. I've seen just all sand. I've just seen all gravel. So, anything that you have to weight it down. Now, the cool part about this is the resin itself will, and you can see the little bit that didn't quite get saturated, and I will take the tool that I have and I will poke that down to make sure that all of the gravel and sand is saturated with the resin. Now the cool part about this resin is as it hardens, it's going to turn white. And I've sped up the video a little bit coming up to show you just how that works. And again, it's a specialty resin chemical, the Model Pro Slow Set, about 6 minutes working time. And there's a video of how it actually sets. As the compound turns white, that's actually fully cured. It's about 1 hour until the part is mixed, starts to set, and you can actually demold it. So this is a very quick process to make a sponge filter that will last forever. Now here is, the cup is removed. This is the base itself of the sponge filter that I made. The pipe is permanent now inside that weight. You're not going to be able to accidentally pull that pipe out like you would with glue or silicone or anything like that. This pipe is not coming out of this weight. From here, you take you can see, look right down into the pipe itself. From here, we take the 1 inch cut cartridge, put it over the PVC pipe, and right here is a super high efficiency biological media sponge filter. And you can make these as big as you want. You can make them 20 inches tall if you like, or as small. Now if you're going to use airflow, I cut a elbow, cut a hole to allow the air line to go in, and generate the bubbles and the water flow up out of the sponge filter to have the flow go through that big coarse sponge. You can also put a power head on the top, which will allow much more water flow if the power heads are the way that you like to go. And I'll show you both in action. But that is basically the design. Now the sponge filter will, of this size and of this shape, will handle a lot more water flow and a lot more biological filtration than the little round ones that you get out of the box. So let me show you the filter in action. Here is the filter working with the airflow. Now the airflow is the base that we made through the sponge. It's drawing the detritus through the sponge, beneficial bacteria, and up through the elbow and to the surface. Now this is a super high efficiency, as I said. There's a lot of air running through this particular sponge filter, and that's actually better for the amount of size and the amount of flow that you want through a sponge filter of this size. And again, see the base, weighting it down, it kind of blends in a little bit to the gravel. Here is the same sponge filter that we just made, and it's running with a power head. Now the power head, you can run 400 gallons plus an hour through this type of sponge without worrying about it clogging, without worrying about it caving in because you're drawing too much water through. And the weight, the sponge filter is weighted down, it's not moving, it's not going to go anywhere. Even with the sponge, or even with the power head, that's generating that much water. Now the water pump next to it is going to an external filter, and we'll talk about that in another video. But there is the Swiss Tropical sponge filter made with a 1-inch PVC pipe, and you could also use this to convert your ATI filters to a much higher efficiency sponge filter. You would just simply take your ATI filter bases and your filter arrangement and cut the Swiss Tropical sponge to the size that you need and fit it on the base that way. Now this one is where you make your own base, and the ATI ones you can use the pre-made base. But either way, the Swiss Tropical sponge filters are way more efficient. Thanks.